Hey everyone, Long here, and I didn't expect to have as much fun as I did with Ether and Iron, but I really am very much enjoying it. So if I could, I would spend basically the whole weekend just trying to play through the game because it's just a lot of fun. There's a lot of like narrative choices that you can make. It's my kind of world, kind of environment, especially when it comes to like revisiting like like past eras, uh but integrated with technology. I don't think you can call it a steampunk. I guess you can call it a cyberpunk if you will. But the setting is essentially you have the Earth, which is no longer habitable, but you do have like what's called the Etheneers, basically engineers who work within work with Ether, which is essentially that first part of the title. Essentially, like harnessed it to create worlds above like above the clouds. So you have those who live in what's called the lowers, and then you have folks who live in the uppers. Take a guess at like what social classes live and where. But ultimately, like this is like, but it is a kind of a setting that I very much am drawn to, and so I just want to thank Keymailer and the developer for hooking me up with a key. So I am actually like creating. I'm actually creating content for this offer. So anyway, so getting into the game, I'm only in like just over 3 hours so far, but it is really, really cool. Honestly, I wish I would have started sooner when I did receive the key, which was a long time ago. But but looking at but if I were to look at the page here, the developer is Seismic Squirrel, and they are very much like enthused, and they continue to drop updates in like for their game. So the game was originally released towards the end of March. But it has received a lot of like really great developer support. I am looking forward to like playing more of this this weekend because it's just a lot of fun to just get into. Yeah, but anyway, let's go ahead and start. But now that I've kind of laid out what the environment's like, I'm gonna go ahead and get right into the characters here, which are pretty fun to play with. I very much like Gia, the first girl you start off with, and she is essentially like a smuggler who has to take on jobs to try to like make a living and try to get out of the business so that she can have the dream of one day like living in the uppers and then just getting away from this this like not so great smuggler life. But her latest job takes her has her escorting a gal from the upper worlds, from the uppers, named Nellie, and she is revealed. She basically is revealed to be like a scientist who has an agenda, but but appears to be noble. And it's just only like the first. And I'm only going to discuss the first few hours, but from what I can see, she does have. She gets into a lot of trouble. She's very naive, not used to like to operating in the uh, in the lowers, but it is very charming. So it's I do like the relationship between Gia and Nelly, and like how they ultimately like grow to like like depend on each other to survive and to ultimately get this job done. Joining the two is a mechanic. Her name is Cress, and she is very tough. She's very tough, but she's also very smart, and is a very good connoisseur for jazz, and especially the with the vinyls. So and I think like I do so far what I do like is the characterization between these three, like the relationships between the three as well. And I very much enjoy like all the different traits that they come with. So they do have like distinct personalities. They're not just like so. And I'm just now getting to a point where I'm going to have Cress be a part of like the combat situations, which I thought were pretty cool so far. The combat situations I get into are mainly like vehicular combat. So anytime that you're in a chase, like it plays like XCOM, that where you are making moves and then you have to like make strategic decisions. So, like you can ram a car, but at the risk of like damaging your own car, and then later you have to repair it. So, and then there's also, and of course you have your guns. You initially do start off with a really cool, a pretty reasonably kitted car before you lose your first one, and then have to move on with just starting over. So that part was kind of interesting to me, but I hope that you do event. But I mean, like it only lasts for a little while before you finally raise enough funds to eventually own more vehicles, and then you start growing your crew, and you're continually taking on more dangerous jobs. So, from what I've seen so far, the gameplay is pretty good. But also, what's also pretty compelling are the narratives. Don't know what exactly is the impact of it is going to be of one of these branches, but I imagine it would have been pretty bad if one was chosen over the other. And you do have to have a fair amount. It does like have you like think a fair amount before you decide on like which path you're going to take. I'm not going to spoil it here. But let's just say, but there is one where it involves like local authorities, shall we say, and that's all I'm going to say about that. But also, it affects your standing with with the civilians. I wish I could say more than that, but I think at some point I'm just going to, instead of like just creating VODs, I'm probably going to figure out a way to. I'm just going to try to like get my channel set up so that you can actually enjoy the live streams and then see for yourself like how the games do play out, because I think this is really a really cool game to really get into. So if you haven't yet, um, you know, feel free to check it out for yourself. At the time of recording, um, the game is let's see. At the time of recording, the game is 24.99. It is a rather beefy. I mean, like the game is actually pretty simple to run, um, but there seems to be a fair amount of content, and it has been received pretty reasonably well. Um, I think I know that I had received the game for free, so big shout out to the developer once again. I do also want to like point out that there is a fair amount of like quality that has gone into the game. There are some places where, like even in the dialogue screens, that you will face some freezing, and a couple of times that I have tried to start the game on my PC, I did end up freezing, and I had to restart, and then I had to relaunch the game. And and then also there were times in which um, I was stuck in a screen for like some of the time, but ultimately, like none of that uh, was needed to required um, getting in contact with the developer or required anything too drastic. So I will say that the game is fairly stable, and the game is actually a lot of fun, especially if you're looking into some narrative style gameplay. Um, I should also mention that during the dialogues, there are scenes where you are going to be doing skill checks, and it just plays out like Baldur's Gate. There are some which you will not be able to do until you get to a certain point, when you're developing your skills, your paths. So when you level up, you will also have to like decide on how you're going to build out your crew. But it makes it all the more fun. So I'm actually looking forward to seeing like how it's going to look when I start adding more crew to my more members to my crew. If I ever get to play as have Nelly join my crew. Right now, at this time she is a client, but let's see what happens. But other than that, I really did like my time with Aether and Iron. I'm going to continue to play the game because it's just a lot of fun, and I just want to see like where the story takes me. So anyway, that's it. That's going to do it for me. I just want to say thank you very much for taking the time to catch my video. I hope that you enjoyed it. If you want to see more content like this, then please like the video, comment on what you enjoyed, what you didn't enjoy. If you want to see more content like this, then please subscribe to my channel and hit that notification bell. Thanks a lot, everyone. Hang loose.